What's going on, everybody? Mr. Foodie here, and today we are going to be reviewing the grilled pork sandwich from QT Vietnamese Sandwich. Here it is right here. In Vietnamese, this is known as the Banh Thit Nuong, which basically translates to grilled pork sandwich or grilled pork bread. The Banh means bread, and the Thit Nuong means grilled pork. But let's do the big reveal here. So we have our sandwich right here. Let's do the unveiling. This pork right here to let you know what it is. And so here we go. We have the sandwich right here. This little crusty bread. And then open it up. Filled to the brim with veggies, the pickled carrots, we got the cucumber, the jalapenos, cilantro. Not that much meat, to be honest. Yeah, like usually there's a pretty good meat to veggie bread ratio for these types of sandwiches, but I don't know, for this one in particular, I don't know, the meat is a bit lacking. But, you know, it's not about how much meat it is. What matters the most is how good it tastes. So, let's try this out. And normally with these sandwiches, they don't normally cut these in half. But, you know, QT actually does that. So, let's take a look at the cross section here. Alright. So again, pretty heavy on the veggies, not so much on the meat itself. Alright, so without further ado, let's give this a try. Alright, cheers everybody. As you can tell from the start, you know, nice little crunch on the bread, and that's typically how the banh mi's are made. With toasted bread like this. And as I was saying earlier, like, there wasn't that much meat, but what mattered most was the flavor. And this meat does have a lot of flavor. There's a lot of lemongrass flavor in this pork. Just out of the way. So it does pack a punch. This is one of those situations where, you know, it's a quality over quantity. So the flavor definitely more than makes up for the lack of meat. So it's probably better that it doesn't have that much meat, so it's not overwhelmed with that flavor. But the flavor is really, really good. Now, normally for these types of sandwiches, it usually has some kind of mayo on it. Some of them do have pate. Like this one doesn't normally have pate in it, but it does have the mayonnaise, which this one does not. So it is a bit lacking in that. As I mentioned, like, doesn't really need much else because the meat is so flavorful. And as the typical pickled carrots, there's no daikon. I don't think it makes that much of a difference that it doesn't have daikon. But as all the other ones, has the cucumber, the jalapeno gives it that nice little extra kick. Yeah, I mean, flavor-wise, it's definitely there. I will say, like, you know, with the lack of mayonnaise or any type of sauce, it does taste a bit dry. So just be well aware of that. I do remember having the other sandwiches having some kind of mayonnaise or pate, combination of both maybe. I was just in the mood for barbecue pork today. Yeah. The jalapenos are usually hit or miss in terms of spice. Some of them, you know, I mean, jalapenos typically aren't that spicy, at least for me. Does have a nice little kick to it, but this one's a little more spicier than usual, which I like, you know. It all depends, like, you know, I guess it depends on the day, like, you know, what type of jalapenos you have in your sandwich. So just be aware of that. If you can't handle spice, you know, try not to have it with jalapenos. My wife typically doesn't eat the jalapenos. She usually gives it to me. As flavorful as the meat is, the more I eat this, the more I realize how dry it is. So, just be aware that, if you do order this, maybe request added mayonnaise or even pate if you want to mix those. I'm not sure if pate would work well with this type of meat. It works well with the other types of sandwiches, but I'm not sure if it works with this. But if you want some extra, if you don't want it as dry, maybe try to request one of those, if not both. I'll bite this first half here. So I mentioned the sandwich is a bit too dry for my tastes, but thankfully, got myself a Vietnamese coffee to pair along with it. Can't have a Vietnamese dish without Vietnamese coffee, especially in the morning. So right here, just to give you the nice jolt you need to get through the day. So, cheers. Their coffee in particular has it's a Vietnamese coffee is typically a combination of bitter and sweet. You have the bitterness of the coffee, sweetness of the condensed milk. This one has a more chocolatey note. It's sort of it looks like chocolate milk, and it sort of tastes like chocolate milk with added caffeine element to it. So yeah, it's a little different from other Vietnamese coffees that I've had in other Vietnamese restaurants. So just be aware of that when you order this. I mean, I like it, so Again, this is just what I need to get through the day. Let's recap. So this was the grilled pork sandwich from QT Vietnamese Sandwich. So thoughts about it. As I mentioned earlier, there wasn't that much meat compared to how much vegetables are in the bread. As a matter of fact, let's do this with the second half. So you can see right here, it's very veggie heavy. You see that there is a lot of orange, a lot of pickled carrots here, quite a bit of celery, some jalapeno, some cucumber. But then, the meat is it's not the star of the show in this case. It's definitely overshadowed by all these veggies here. And as you see right here, so these are the remnants of the first half of the sandwich that I had. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign of a good Vietnamese sandwich. If it leaves as many crumbs as a Nature Valley bar, you are in good business here. Right? But again, overall, the sandwich, the flavor again is it's pretty good. The meat definitely packs a punch. But as a whole package, it's just tastes really dry. It doesn't help that the bread is already dry from being toasted, looking as crusty as it is. But usually gets balanced out by some other sauce like a mayonnaise or a pate. But in this case, all you have is the bread, the veggies, the meat, and not much else. All right, so that was the grilled pork sandwich, the Banh Mi Thit Nuong from QT Vietnamese Sandwich in Chinatown in Philadelphia. So I'm going to give it an overall rating of a B. So the flavor was all there. Flavor was, impeccable. The lemongrass was definitely in the forefront of your taste buds. But just the dryness of the sandwich overall, the lack of a sauce on it, kind of docked it a few points. But I would still recommend it. I would definitely check out QT Vietnamese Sandwich for the other sandwiches. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions for me to try, let me know in the comments down below. Again, thank you all for watching. Hope you all stay absolutely valuable, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.